the frikandel. For years it has been one of the most iconic Dutch snacks. This sausage-like deep-fried meat snack is so popular that every year an estimated 600 million pieces are sold in supermarkets, in cafeterias, and of course in the famous Dutch food wall. On average, a Dutch person eats about 35 frikandellen a year. And just like sausage, it can be had on its own. It is also often paired with fries, but by far the most popular way to have it is as a frikandel speciaal. And when you order that, you get a frikandel sliced in half with mayonnaise, ketchup or spice ketchup, which we call curry, and topped with diced onions. And if that does not sound appetizing to you, there are many other ways to have a frikandel, such as in a bun or even as a frikandel spring roll. What is the story behind a frikandel? How did it become so popular, and how can you make one at home? You're going to find out in this video. Before the frikandel, there was the frikadel. It was first documented in the 16th century. It's a flat, deep-fried meatball, and it was mainly popular in Western European countries such as Belgium and Germany, but also in Nordic countries such as Sweden and Denmark. The frikandel was usually made with minced meats, egg, bread or breadcrumbs, and spices. However, it was not exactly the frikandel we have today. The origins of today's frikandel lie in the Dutch town of Dordrecht. In 1954, a butcher by the name of De Vries was successfully selling his meatballs to local cafeterias. However, due to a change in Dutch commodity laws, he was no longer allowed to sell them as meatballs. In order to call his product a meatball, they were not allowed to contain more than 6% of flour. But instead of changing his recipe, De Vries decided to change the shape of the product and to give it another name. So instead of a bowl, it became a sausage, and he called it frikandel. But it was still not the frikandel as we know today. That came 5 years later when young Becker, another butcher, refined the recipe. On his many trips to the States, he was inspired by American food culture, and on his arrival back in the Netherlands, he decided to tweak the recipe, and that is how the modern day frikandel came into being. In spite of its popularity, there is still a great group of people here in the Netherlands who have never had a taste of this iconic Dutch snack because of the myths surrounding it. And arguably the most widespread myth is that it contains slaughter waste and cow's eyes. But that has been debunked. There are no slaughterways and cow's eyes in frikandellen, at least modern day frikandellen. But they're mainly made with chicken separator meats, which is actually meat left over on the carcasses of chicken. And if you think of it, it's actually a very efficient way to use something that would otherwise be thrown away. But if you want to stay clear of any cow's eyes or slaughterways in your frikandellen, you can of course always make them at home, just like I did.
To make these at home, you will need salt, ginger powder, allspice powder, cold water, nutmeg, vegetable oil, breadcrumbs, cumin, garlic powder, bouillon cubes, an onion or onion powder, peppercorns, chicken fillet, and pork fillet. Put all the meat, all the spices, breadcrumbs, and cold water in a food processor. As always, all the measurements will be in the description box down below. Process it until you have a smooth, pâté-like paste. Spoon the meat in a strong piping bag and make sure to press it down well to minimize air. But as you perhaps can see here, there are still lots of air pockets in here, and we do not want that because if we pipe it with the air pockets in it, it's going to break up the frikandel. So I'm going to sort of massage out the air. I made tiny holes in the tip of the bag, which I'm going to cut off anyway, so that's not a big deal. But those holes allow some space for the air to escape. So I hope this all makes sense. If it doesn't, let me know in the comment section down below. I'll try to help you out. But now I'm going to cut off the tip of the piping bag, and I'm aiming for a diameter of about 3 centimeters, which is approximately 1 inch. So for the next step, I am first going to wet my work surface with just plain water. And I'm doing that because it helps the cling film, which you'll need for the next step, to stay in place. Place about 30 centimeters, which is around 11 inches of cling film on your surface. And pipe the meat on the cling film in a long strip. If you're a pro, you can probably do this in one seamless move. Well, I'm not a pro, so you see some demarcations from when I stopped for a second or two, because believe it or not, this is a bit harder than it actually looks like. But to smooth it out, I'm going over it with a little bit of water. Roll it up tightly. And freeze it for about 15 minutes. So typically a frikandel is around 18 centimeters, which is 7 inches, but I'm making mine smaller. Heat water, but make sure to not bring it to a boil. Add a bouillon cube to the water and poach the frikandelle for 15 minutes. You'll know when it's done when it starts to float to the top. Take it out of the water and pat them dry. And at this stage, you can freeze them to fry later, but I'll be frying mine over medium heat of 175 Celsius and cook until they're golden brown.
I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, stay tuned for the other videos in this mini series as I dive into the world of Dutch snacks. And as always, don't forget to like this video and subscribe, and I will see you in my next video.